It's an exciting day here at PFDAuto because this time we're going back under the hood. So let's start with the goodies. You can see I had a little fun on Texas Speed's website the other day. They're having a pretty good sale and got me thinking about this fuel system. I've had these injector dynamic 1050s. I think they're 1000 cc's. Came with the plugs. That's really nice. You've also seen this before. This is our fuel pressure regulator from Fuel Lab. Still not sure how I feel about this pressure gauge here, but anyways, we need to get that in the car also. I've also got some PTFE line because this is a flex fuel sensor. At some point, I think we're going to be running ethanol in this car, so why not start with the whole kit from the beginning? I've got the plug for that, and I've got some other various connectors and things. So now we just need to get it all in the car. The first thing I think I'm going to try to tackle today is our injectors, mainly because they're right on top and easy to deal with. And it'll also give me some time to stare at this engine bay and figure out where I'm going to put the rest of that stuff, because we've got to mount it all somewhere and we're starting to run out of room. There's a whole bunch of other stuff we need to figure out too. So while I'm doing this, I know exactly what needs to happen here. I'll start thinking about which one is our return line, which one is our supply line, where we're going to mount all that stuff, and how we're going to run these lines. Should really look into getting some black hardware for this. Of course, you can see how good my paint job did on those. One injector came out with the rail. The rest of them are probably kind of stuck in there. Oh, not too bad. So you might ask why we're swapping these injectors out, and this is a really good reason. You can see that damaged O-ring there. I have no idea the condition of these, and I do know that they do not flow enough for the amount of power we're trying to make. These guys, brand new rubber seals, and 1000 cc. From what I understand, Bosch and injector design work together to mimic the K-series injector perfectly. There are no spacers, there's nothing, it's plug and play. So let's get them in the car. So I can hear some of you yelling, you're supposed to be using silicone grease on these O-rings, and you're right, and I would if I had any, but I don't. So I'm gonna use 2-stroke oil. It's not gonna harm these O-rings, just going to be the tiniest bit, and it will make it to where I don't damage the O-ring putting it back into the intake manifold. Cleaned out the holes, made sure there was no debris from those old broken O-rings. Now we're going to get them reinstalled. I think we're going to run them in this direction because I want the wiring harness to kind of be hidden. It's going to be below the fuel rail. Thinking about trying to bring it up through for each one. I'm not sure that I really want to do that. Seems like a giant pain. Seems like it would be easier just to run it across than have a bunch of extra lead and a loop over to get it in there. I don't know. What do you all think? Do we run it up the top or do we run them down in here? Just eyeball that till it's perfect. Now when we put the connectors on, we'll have plenty of room. I think that's the ticket right there. Now the fun part, I gotta get this injector or this fuel rail back on. New injector's in, tight, ready to go. See no movement there. Everything on the fuel rail's tightened up. Now I think we got to figure out where we're going to mount the rest of this stuff. One thing first before we start worrying about the position of anything is we need to figure out which one of those lines is the return and which one is the supply. So let's get under the car and check that out real quick. Should be pretty easy. All right, here's our pump and stuff. That is our pump, one of them. There is our filter. This is our regulator or accumulator. And that is the supply line that comes from there. Goes up and around into this line here, which is the second one over. And it stays the same all the way down the car. I got new clips and stuff too for this. But let's go up front, see how it looks up there. They feed their way up to here. This is my supply. This is my return line, which is back-assward of what I need. I need this guy pointing to here and then going out there. Well, at least that's what I thought. I could supply it and return it however I want, and I'll probably end up doing it backwards. I'm going to supply from here to there, and back through down to here to our return. That said, I still have to get our fuel pressure regulator and our flex fuel sensor in there. But since nothing goes here, and I don't think it matters if you run those at an angle, I think we're gonna shoot for this area. I've got some adapters for these. I might switch over to something else. I'm not sure. Don't think I can use that. I have some compression fittings though, so I can cut this anywhere really and reroute it as needed. I found some interesting things out. I mic'd this and it is 0.315. which is not 3/8 or quarter, which are the only adapters that I've been able to find. This, however, is 14 1.5, which GM uses for their fuel system. So I'm going to get some adapters for that, and we're just going to leave these ends on, maybe reorient those lines a little bit. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't have any adapters that are going to work. I was just going to cut them off further back underneath the car and put adapters on them and run the braided line up to the front, but it doesn't look like that's an option because of the weird size of our actual line. So I'll get those parts ordered up and we'll get them on there as soon as we can. Even though we found a little sticking point here, we're not going to let that hold us up. I'm going to order those adapters that we need. They should be here by tomorrow morning. They're not going to be the ones that I want, but they'll get it done until I can get some better fittings. All that said, it looks like we're going to have to wait for some adapters. I've looked them up, ordered them. They'll be here tomorrow morning. While we're waiting for them, I think I'm going to build the feed line. I've never built an inline before, and I'm pretty interested to try it out. So let's give that a shot. Well, normally we'd be in the fab shop, but it's in use today. So we found a shady spot on the side of the car. I want to try building one of these lines. I've been interested in it since I decided to do AN, and well, now's the opportunity. So we've got our hose, we've got our end, we've got our ferrule, and we've got our clamping nut. Clamping nut goes on over the braid, like so. The ferrule goes onto the end, like so. You can see the end of this tube, it's nice and flat, and it's pressed up against the edge of that ferrule. Then what we do, slide this into the PFE tube until it's nice and flat with the ferrule. Now that we've got all that set up, we should be able to bring our clamping nut up here, get it started by hand, then we'll use the wrenches to tighten it down. But that is one side of our supply fuel line. All right, so I'm going to try to get this started by hand. So it looks like we've got a couple threads on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this wrench to hold that. I'll use this wrench let's flip this around. Because I'm going to use this wrench to hold this in place. I'll use this one, hopefully, to tighten this down. I guess I can just spin on this guy. I kind of thought I wouldn't want them touching. Or that side spinning. What the heck just happened there? I dropped it and it opened completely. That is weird. So that's one end done. You can see this is up tight. This is not coming apart. There ain't no way. This guy spins freely. I think we're in pretty good shape. Well, now that we've got this end on, what we need to do is figure out how long of a piece we need to go between here and here. Now we don't have this adapter, but it's going to sit flush. It's going to have a little AN piece sticking out the other end, so we can get a good idea. The first thing we're going to do is just screw this on, see where we land with this just mocked up here. As you can see, the very first thing I notice is that this is a little tight. I'm not sure how much of a bend I can put on that, but it looks like we're going to go from there to there. Got a metal piece that fits in here. Maybe I should stuff that on there before I start committing to these lengths. This line is not cheap. Might even need to buy some 45s. I'm not sure if that would help. Well, I mean, I'm sure it would. Or if it's actually needed. I'm just not sure. I could do a 90 out of there too. That would look pretty nice. If we just came off 90 and went that way. Decisions. While we think about that, let's find a mounting place. Because if nothing else, I can use this line between our flex fuel and our fuel pressure regulator. So yeah, let's think about it a little bit more and get started mounting. I've been staring at this space for quite a long time. This being my return here is where I want this pressure regulator. So I built this little bracket instead of the one that came with it. My idea is I could put it there and use the adapter I'm about to get from there to here, and we'll plug it straight into this. Supposedly with the no-ring, it should work just fine. Then we'll have this kind of bolted down also. Now to figure out where to put the flex fuel sensor. So it's a new day here at PFDAuto. Just got back from Supercar Sunday, got some inspiration and got some more parts. So let's get these fuel lines done. So here's the first piece that we're going to try. This is a 14125 metal thread that fits here. Switches this out to AN6.
Since this piece isn't a flare, it's got a little O-ring in there that I managed to put a touch of grease on and stick it in there so it won't move around. So now we can just thread this on, and with any luck, we'll have a fuel tight connection that we can then run A in off of. Doesn't feel like it tightened down very far. Might lube up the threads a little bit, see if we can't get on that a little bit further. But I've got this one to do, and then we can start running some lines. Here's my plan, why I built this little bracket. I think I can get the fuel line to connect straight into here. Then we'll mount this piece here. All of this will be sturdy. The line will come off here, go to our flex fuel sensor, and then we'll be halfway there. The line's going to come from here. This is our return. That's going to come down into the flex fuel sensor somewhere here, I think, and then back into here, and then out to the return. So I'm going to see if I can't get this mounted up, see if this is going to work, and then go from there. My original bracket just ain't working out, but this gives us an idea of where the line is going to ride. So I'm just not going to build the bracket just yet. My big problem is the bracket would have worked, but how do I drill holes here? I don't have that ability. So I might have to put this bracket in after I pull the engine one more time, which is inevitably going to happen. But for now, it's not going to hurt anything. It's pretty stable. We can figure out the routing of these lines. So that's where this is going to ride, and we're going to make all the lines off of this. Then we'll just make a bracket that connects it to the car. So here's an idea I'm toying with. I've got the return line 90'd here, and it runs underneath here, and it's hard to see. There's a bolt right there, and I can build a little bracket to hold this from rubbing on anything. Then it comes underneath. There's nothing in the way down there. Runs up to my flex fuel sensor. Then I'll just loop off the flex fuel sensor, bring it back down around to here. I don't know if I'll have to 90 into that or if I can just loop it nicely. But I think that will set us up today with return fuel system. Putting it all on the return side, which I've heard isn't great for flex fuel, but I don't really think it's going to be a problem in our application, is now I can just run a hose to here. And that completes our fuel system, which I'm pretty stoked on. So I think I'm going to mount this right there, and then I'll be able to cut this line, and we'll go from there. And of course, these are not going to cut that, which means that I've got to take this line out and get the old whirl wheel out. And we'll chop this guy up. We'll put an end on it. We'll run a hose and see how we did. Now that we got a hose with two ends, let's put it in the car. And here's the $1 million question. Did we make the hose the right size? It is designed to run down in here and come up over here. And of course, we'll get this all tightened up. But I just kind of want to see everything connected up. There's one. Now there's going to be a little bracket over here holding this up. This is going to hold down a little bit. It'll be away from everything. Looks like I nicked my braiding. Not real proud of that, but I think the line will hold. So now we need to create one that comes from here, loops back down, around, and goes into here. I'm hoping I can just do that with a gentle loop, not have to put a bunch more fittings on here. But let's try making one and see how it turns out. So now I'm going to connect the line here, figure out how we can snake it down and hopefully land it there without any extra pieces. Let's see what we can do. I can kind of already tell this isn't going to work. This line is just so stiff. If I feel a loop, it's not going to work out the way I want it to. When I make this line, I'm definitely going to flip it around. Yeah, see, that's the best I can do there. And that just ain't going to work. I think I'm starting to regret this placement. Either I have to find something that can loop this around right back down, but wide enough that it clears this, or I have to run this loop around the ABS system, and that just looks terrible. This already looks pretty bad. I guess if I could get it to go straight back down, it wouldn't be terrible. I don't know. What do y'all think? I think what I am going to do is get a win and turn this line into the line from there to there. Well, maybe not, because it's all marred up. I don't know. Let me think about this, and we'll figure something out. All right, so this line should thread onto here. Now it should thread onto here pretty easily. Not too much pressure on anything. I'm digging that. We can build a little offset for it, or a little clamp or something. But this stuff is looking pretty good. We did end up having to steal both of our 90s to get this done. You can see it runs right through here. Doesn't touch anything. I am gonna make a little bracket right there. It'll kind of pull up on this, taking the tension off of this side, and also making that side nice and lined up, and keeping it away from everything. The only thing left is to run a line from there to there. That said, I do need these 90s. So what I'm going to do is steal a 90 off of here, put it over there, and then buy some more today, and then we'll get this all wrapped up when they show up. In the meantime, though, let's make this line. Well, I managed to mess up both ends of this one, so I'll probably end up getting new ends for this eventually. But right now, I just want to get it on the car. So we're going to put this ugly, ugly piece on here because it's going to help us finish our fuel system. And right now, at least we'll have proof of concept, and then we can make it pretty when we're done. There we go. Just the right amount of tension. Nothing's rubbing. All good. It's been a couple days, but we're back. We've got the pieces we need to finish up the fuel system. So let's get at it. Well, we got the 90 for there. And we needed one right there. And there we have it. So just to recap, this is our supply line going up to our fuel rail, through the fuel rail, down and around, underneath over here to our flex fuel sensor, around the loop down here to our pressure regulator, and back to the return. This is kind of a big day for me. I'm so excited that we've finished up one of the systems on the car. Now you might be asking about the pumps, things in the back. I did that previously. Before I started this whole K-swap idea, I went through the entire fuel system. I went through all the brakes. I redid all of the suspension, which I'm probably going to change again, but all of that stuff was already taken care of. So we're pretty much ready to go. And that said, it's going to bring us to the end of this episode. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you liked what you saw, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Make sure to get back to you. And as always, if you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. And we'll see you next time on PFDAuto.